Hello my dear students, welcome back to the virtual class. So today I am going to teach you chapter number 3 from history, and this chapter is all about the moderates. So this is the topic, the moderates from 1885 to 1905. 1885 to 1905, because the Indian national movement is divided into 3 phases. First phase belong to the moderates, the second phase belong to the extremist, and the third phase is all about the Gandhian phase. Okay, so today we will be starting our first phase of Indian national movement, that is the moderate phase. So who were moderates and why were they called moderates, we will discuss today in the class. So let's start with it. So the moderate is a word adjective, it's an adjective. Okay, the early congressman from 1885 to 1905, this phase belonged to the early congressmen who were known as moderates. The early leaders of the Indian National Congress were known as moderates because they were not at all aggressive. Okay, they were not at all radical in their attitude, and they even had a very moderate nature. So they were moderate in their attitude, they were moderate by their nature, they had moderate demands, okay, and they even followed the moderate means, moderate methods to attain their objectives. That is why they were known as moderates. So many of them were highly qualified leaders of the Congress, and they led the Indian National Congress from the beginning. Okay, so that is why, because of their moderate nature, they were known as moderate. Okay, you can see a few of the names of the leaders I mentioned over here. Many more were there, but they are very active during the national movement or the initial phases of Indian National Congress. So you can see W.C. Banerjee is there, who was also the first president of Indian National Congress. Okay, when the first session of Indian National Congress was held in Bombay, it was presided over by W.C. Banerjee, and 72 delegates attended the first session of the Indian National Congress. The second one, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Okay, then Surendranath Banerjee is there, Raj Bihari Bose is there, Dadabhai Naoroji is there, Firoz Shah Mehta, Badruddin Tyagji, Anand Charlu. Okay, apart from them, many other were like Subramaniam Iyer was also there. Okay, P.R. Naidu was also there. Okay, Ramesh Chandra Datta also was there. Got it? So in this chapter, as per your syllabus for class 10, my dear, we are asked to do any 2 contributions of Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Okay, then Dadabhai Naoroji, Surendranath Banerjee. These are the 3, 1, 2 and 3. These 3 important moderate leaders, we need to know about their contributions in the national movement. Okay, so that we will do after understanding the belief, their demands and the method of struggle. Okay, so first of all we will discuss about the objectives. What were the objectives of the moderates? What were the demands, or we can say objectives, or what were the demands of the Indian National Congress? Okay, so few of the demands I am going to tell you today. The first of all, constitutional reforms. Whatever reforms they wanted, my dear, they wanted the abolition of Indian Council. Then again, they also wanted the reformation and expansion of Legislative Council. They wanted the expansion of Legislative Council. Okay, and they also demanded an increase in the membership. They wanted the membership of the Legislative Council to be increased. Okay, as well as the financial matters. That means all legislation and the financial matters, including the budget, should be submitted to this council. Everything should be done through this Legislative Council, whose membership also they demanded to be expanded. Okay, they wanted expansion of Legislative Council. So demand number 2, they wanted the members to the Legislative Council to be elected directly by the people of India. Then next one, they wanted the separation of executive and judiciary. That means they wanted separation of executive and judiciary. Then they also demanded that complete self-government. What type of government? Complete self-government modeled on the British colonies like Australia and Canada. Now the next demand comes under the protection of civil liberties. They wanted the civil liberties of the people of India to be protected. Okay, so moderates strongly opposed the suppression of all civil liberties like freedom of speech, expression, okay, freedom of press, right to form associations. These were suppressed during that period. They wanted freedom to all these civil liberties. Okay, they demanded the right to assemble and organize meetings in cities and towns across the country, and they also wanted to send representatives and distribution of pamphlets. They wanted to send their representatives to different places to distribute pamphlets and all. Got it? These were the demands. The next one, administrative reforms. They demanded the Indianization of civil service, like civil services as was held only in England. ICSE examination was held at London, so they also demanded that civil service examination should also be held in India simultaneously, in England, as in London, as well as in India simultaneously. Okay, and they wanted adequate representation. They wanted enough representation of Indians in the executive council of the viceroy and of the government. They wanted Indian representation in the viceroy's executive council. Okay, then powers to the municipal bodies should be increased. That means more power should be given to the municipal bodies, and reduction of official control over them. That means over the municipal bodies, control over the municipal bodies should be reduced, and more power should be given to the Indian people. Okay. Then development and facilities for people in the field of higher health and education. They also demanded for the development of health and education. Okay. The next one, they also demanded for the withdrawal of Arms Act. Okay. The next one, socio-economic reforms also was there. They also demanded certain socio-economic reforms, like they wanted a change in the economic policies of the British. Okay, and how it should be done. They wanted the protection of Indian industries. They wanted the British government to protect the Indian industries. How will they protect it? By increasing industrial production and encouraging cottage industries and handicrafts. Okay. The next one, they also protested against the exemption of duty for British by protecting the Indian industries. That means Indian industries should be protected by exempting the taxes imposed over there. Taxes were imposed on the Indian goods, that was to be exempted. Okay. Then they also demanded the reduction of land revenue. They also demanded the protection of peasants against the cruelties and unjust demands of the zamindars. Then giving loans to the small scale industries, or the small scale industries, or to the peasants through agricultural banks. So these were the demands of the moderates. So everywhere, wherever we saw, we did not see any demand like they demanded self-government or Swaraj. Okay, they did not talk about Swaraj or self-government. They just wanted certain reforms to be brought in the administrative system. Okay, constitutional reform, then administrative reforms, then socio-economic reforms also they demanded. But nowhere we saw that the moderates demanded for a self-government. The next one, they also demanded for the abolition of salt tax and a duty on sugar. Salt tax and a tax which was imposed on sugar. They also wanted to abolish this one. Okay, these were the demands of the Indian National Congress. Or we can say these were the demands of the moderates. Now next one we'll discuss about over here is the belief. What were the belief of the moderates? The moderates had unlimited faith in the British sense of justice. So faith was unlimited, my dear. Okay, so they had complete faith in the British. So when the Indian National Congress was formed in the year 1885, my dear, the aim of its founder was not to oppose the British government. Their aim was not to oppose the British government. So they described themselves as cautious reformers. They wanted to reform silently. They wanted to bring reformation cautiously. So according to the moderates, my dear, England was the source of inspiration and guidance. So accordingly, they felt that British rule was a boon for the Indians, because by introducing science and technology and education, it eradicated the evils of the Indian society. So they had a firm belief that these changes which we see in our society is all due to the British government. So they looked upon Britain, England as a guide, not as a curse. They looked upon England as a guide. They are the one who will guide us. So these are the demands whichever you see over here, my dear. So they wanted the participation in the government. They did not demand full independence or Swaraj. They wanted participation in the government. They wanted to learn how to govern the country. So complete independence they never talked about. Okay, so they have unlimited faith in the British sense of justice, and many of the moderate leaders, my dear, they were of the belief that whichever demands we are placing in front of the British, my dear. So once they come to know about our demands, my dear, they will definitely fulfill it. So that was their belief. Whether they'll fulfill it or not, that is something different. But they had a firm belief that when they come to know about our demands, then definitely they will fulfill it. They will definitely look into the matter. That was their belief. So they had unlimited faith in the British sense of justice. Hope you are understanding. Okay. So now next one. The next one is all about the methods of struggle. They followed the policies of 3 P's. We can call it 3 P's. 3 P's. Why it is called 3 P's? Prayer, petition and protest. Prayer. Okay? Petition. Prayer, protest and petition. So 3 P's. They followed the policy of 3 P's. So first one, prayer. So definitely they send letters. They wrote letters to the British government stating their demands. Okay. Then they protested in a constitutional way without breaking the law of the country. Then petitions were sent again and again. So petitions were sent to the government officials. They passed several resolutions in the annual sessions. Whenever Congress sessions were held, my dear, they passed certain resolutions, what they are going to do and what are their demands. They held meetings and discussions on economic and social problems of the country. Meetings were conducted everywhere. This way they brought consciousness among the people regarding the economic condition of the country. Then they also organized meetings in cities and towns all over the countryside, held annual sessions with the delegates participating from different parts of the country. Every year sessions were held in which the delegates they came from different parts of the country and took part in it. Okay, they even distributed leaflets and pamphlets across the country. Leaflets and pamphlets were distributed all over the country. Whenever they got an opportunity, they distributed it. So the main motive of distributing leaflets and pamphlets were to make the people understand what actually Congress doing since the formation of Indian National Congress. What are their objectives? So people should know about the work of the Congress. In that way, more and more people will understand the Indian National Congress and they will join the Indian National Congress and they will support the Indian National Congress. They even forwarded resolutions to the government for its opinion and demanded inquiries. They demanded inquiries. Moderates arranged lecturers in England to create a strong public opinion in favor of India. So all this was done in order to make the people of India politically conscious and to know about the condition of our country, economic condition of our country, and what all demands which they are going to place in front of the British will bring. What will be the result of that? They wanted to make the people understand over it. Because people of those time, my dear, they were ignorant, they were busy in their social evils and all. So slowly and gradually when they were brought out of the social evils and all. So now the time to enlighten them. Now the time was to make the people understand. So why they will support Indian National Congress? So for them, reason must be given to them. They must be explained regarding the demands of the moderates. What all changes can be seen when these demands are fulfilled, my dear. So they held meetings, they distributed pamphlets, they wrote letters to the government, They protested also. Okay, petitions were also sent to the British government. Okay, prayers were done, requests were done, letters of request were sent to the British government to consider the demands of the moderates. So this way they decided to work for the Indian National Congress. So we did not see any sort of strong violent protest during the moderate phase, my dear. So they were silent regarding the protest. They followed the constitutional law of that time. They did not go against the British government. They definitely held meetings, but that also by taking permission from the British government. That is why we say that at the early phase of the Indian National Congress, my dear, whenever the sessions were held, my dear, British government always supported them. Their certain Englishmen also took part in the sessions of the Congress. Okay, so this is all about the methods of Indian National Congress, or we can say the methods of the moderates in order to achieve their objective. So if you remember these 3 P's, prayer, protest and petition, that is enough for you to understand. So this was their policy. This was the method which they followed in order to achieve their objective. So thank you for listening, my dear. So we'll meet again in next class. Till then, take care, stay safe, bye bye.